Welcome back. This ordinary-looking Lincoln wheat cent has been hiding an extraordinary story in plain sight. Most people never notice the tiny details that serious collectors look for, but those details can make all the difference. Let's examine this iconic American coin together and uncover what makes certain authenticated examples stand out in the world of rare coin collecting. First coin. Few American coins seem as ordinary at first glance as the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, yet experienced collectors know that appearances can be remarkably deceptive. Millions of these small bronze cents quietly passed through the hands of workers, shopkeepers, soldiers, and families during one of the most uncertain periods of the 20th century, and today some surviving examples have become highly desirable to numismatists for reasons that are not immediately obvious. The secret lies not simply in the dates stamped beneath Abraham Lincoln's portrait, but in a fascinating combination of mint location, preservation, strike quality, color, and the possibility of unusual mint-made varieties that transformed a common circulation coin into an object of serious collector interest. As this story unfolds, you'll discover what authenticated examples of the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny have actually sold for, why certain pieces command dramatically stronger prices than others, and how specialists determine whether a seemingly ordinary cent deserves nothing more than pocket change or careful professional examination. When the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny entered circulation, the United States was emerging from the lingering effects of the Great Depression while simultaneously preparing for a world that was becoming increasingly unstable. Europe was already engulfed in World War II, and although America had not yet entered the conflict, industries were expanding, factories were increasing production, and demand for circulating coinage remained strong as the economy accelerated. The Lincoln cent had already become an American institution after replacing the Indian head cent in 1909, marking the first regular United States coin to feature an actual historical figure instead of the symbolic Lady Liberty. Victor David Brenner's celebrated portrait of Abraham Lincoln remained on the obverse, while the reverse displayed two graceful wheat ears framing the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, with the national motto EPLUIBUSUNUM above. The coin measured 19.05 millimeters in diameter, weighed approximately 3.11 grams, featured a plain edge, and consisted primarily of 95% copper, with the remaining 5% made up of tin and zinc, creating the familiar bronze composition that collectors continue to admire for its warm reddish appearance when properly preserved. Production during 1941 was spread across 3 United States mint facilities, each identified by a different mint mark arrangement that continues to influence collector demand today. The Philadelphia Mint struck the largest share and, as was customary, used no mint mark beneath the date. The Denver Mint produced coins bearing a small d, while the San Francisco Mint placed an S below the date. Combined production exceeded 1 billion coins, an impressive figure that reflected America's expanding commercial activity. Although the total mintage was enormous, survival rates tell a far more interesting story because the overwhelming majority of these cents circulated heavily for decades. They were tossed into cash registers, stored in jars, carried in pockets, and exposed to moisture, friction, and countless everyday hazards. As a result, sharply struck mint state examples retaining their original surfaces are considerably scarcer than the raw production numbers might suggest. Collectors often discover that finding a worn 1941 wheat penny is relatively easy, but locating one with exceptional eye appeal, blazing original color, and minimal contact marks is an entirely different challenge. Professional grading organizations evaluate these cents according to internationally recognized standards that can dramatically influence value. A heavily circulated good or very good example may possess significant historical charm, but collectors pursuing investment-quality coins generally seek higher-grade pieces with crisp details and attractive surfaces. Extremely fine and about uncirculated examples retain much of their original design definition, while mint state coins display no evidence of wear from circulation. Specialists also classify copper cents by color, using the familiar red, red, brown, and brown designations. A full red specimen that has retained nearly all of its original mint color is substantially more difficult to locate than a brown example that naturally darkened through oxidation over many decades. This distinction alone can create remarkable differences in market value. Authenticated mint state red examples of the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny frequently sell for well over $1,000 when they achieve elite grades with outstanding eye appeal, while similar coins with less vibrant surfaces or lower grades may command considerably less. Every incremental improvement in preservation becomes increasingly important because collectors compete intensely for the finest certified survivors. Strike quality also plays a major role in determining desirability, and this is where experienced numismatists often separate average examples from truly exceptional ones. During high-volume production, dies gradually wore down, reducing the sharpness of fine details, particularly Lincoln's hair, beard, coat, and the wheat kernels on the reverse. Coins struck from fresh dies typically display stronger definition and more attractive luster than pieces produced later in the die's working life. Collectors examine these characteristics carefully under magnification, searching for complete lettering, bold wheat lines, and uninterrupted mint frost across the surfaces. They also inspect the coin for contact marks, scratches, carbon spots, cleaning damage, or environmental corrosion, all of which can significantly reduce desirability. Occasionally, attractive examples certified by respected grading services have realized prices approaching $2,400 because they combined exceptional strike quality, pristine preservation, original red color, and superior eye appeal. Such results reflect the scarcity of premium condition coins rather than the ordinary value of every 1941 wheat penny encountered in circulation. Beyond condition, specialists remain especially interested in mint-made errors and die varieties that emerged during production. Although no universally recognized major variety defines the entire 1941 issue in the same way as certain famous Lincoln cent dates, collectors continue to search for repunched mint marks, doubled die characteristics, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, lamination errors, and dramatic die cracks that occurred naturally inside the mint. Genuine errors are created during the manufacturing process and should never be confused with damage that happened after the coin entered circulation. Authentication becomes essential because altered coins, mechanical doubling, and post-mint modifications can easily mislead inexperienced collectors. Professional grading companies carefully analyze suspicious pieces using advanced equipment and decades of accumulated expertise before assigning a certification. Authenticated error coins displaying dramatic and visually obvious minting mistakes sometimes realize prices exceeding $3,000, particularly when the error is both significant and paired with strong overall preservation. These impressive auction outcomes demonstrate the premium collector's place on genuine mint-produced anomalies rather than ordinary circulation damage. Authentication has become increasingly important as counterfeit technology continues to improve and online marketplaces expose collectors to coins from around the world. A careful examination begins with confirming the correct weight, diameter, edge style, and metallic characteristics, followed by studying the lettering, date, mint mark, and microscopic design details. Experienced numismatists also evaluate the coin's natural luster, surface texture, and color progression because authentic bronze cents age differently than artificially altered or counterfeit examples. Cleaning is one of the most common mistakes made by well-intentioned owners, often leaving unnatural hairline scratches or an overly bright appearance that permanently reduces collector appeal. Instead, reputable experts recommend leaving the surfaces untouched and storing valuable coins individually in inert holders, archival quality flips, capsules, or certified slabs designed to protect them from moisture, fingerprints, and environmental contamination. Proper storage not only preserves visual appeal, but also helps maintain long-term marketability, particularly for coins that may eventually be submitted for professional grading or sold through established auction firms. Auction records illustrate just how dramatically rarity, certification, and preservation can influence the value of a single date. While many circulated 1941 Lincoln wheat pennies remain modestly priced collectibles, elite certified examples have attracted intense bidding from advanced Lincoln cent specialists determined to improve registry quality collections. Some fully authenticated, exceptionally graded red specimens have achieved prices around $4,000 at major auctions, but these extraordinary results represent the finest known survivors rather than the average coin found in an old family jar or inherited collection. Every serious buyer understands that grade, originality, strike, color, rarity, certification, and current collector demand must all align before such premiums become possible. That balance between historical significance and condition explains why the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny continues to captivate collectors decades after it first entered circulation. It stands as a reminder that even one of America's most familiar coins can reveal remarkable stories of craftsmanship, history, and numismatic achievement when examined with patience, knowledge, and respect for the standards that define genuine collector value. Next coin. Among the countless coins that passed through American hands during the Second World War, few have a story as compelling as the 1944 Lincoln wheat cent. At first glance, it appears almost identical to millions of other wheat cents, yet this small bronze coin quietly represents one of the most important transitions in the history of United States coinage. It marked the nation's return to a copper-based alloy after the emergency steel cents of 1943, a change driven by evolving wartime manufacturing priorities and the availability of reclaimed battlefield materials. Decades later, collectors continue to examine these cents with remarkable attention because subtle differences in preservation, mint origin, striking quality, and rare mint-produced anomalies can dramatically influence their desirability. As this documentary unfolds, you'll discover why authenticated examples have become highly collectible, what characteristics specialists evaluate when determining collector value, and what exceptional certified pieces have realized at major auctions compared with more typical survivors. The circumstances surrounding the coin's creation were shaped by a nation fully committed to World War II. During 1943, copper was considered a critical strategic material needed for military equipment, electrical wiring, shell casings, and communication systems, prompting the United States Mint to produce Lincoln cents from zinc-coated steel instead of the traditional bronze alloy. Although the steel cent fulfilled its intended purpose, it quickly proved unpopular with the public because it rusted when its protective coating wore away, often resembled a dime in circulation, and created confusion in everyday commerce. By 1944, improved supplies of copper-bearing materials and the availability of recycled brass from expended military shell casings allowed the mint to restore a copper-based composition. While the exact sources of recycled metal have been discussed for decades, the accepted historical understanding is that recovered wartime brass contributed to the alloy used for many 1944 cents. This gave the coin not only practical importance, but also symbolic meaning, reflecting the nation's determination to recycle valuable resources while supporting an enormous wartime economy. Every 1944 Lincoln wheat cent, therefore, became a tangible reminder that even the smallest denomination could tell a larger story about sacrifice, industrial innovation, and national resilience. Production took place at 3 United States Mint facilities, each contributing significantly to the enormous wartime demand for circulating coinage. Philadelphia struck well over 1 billion pieces without using a mint mark. Denver produced more than 430 million coins identified by a D, and San Francisco added more than 280 million examples bearing an S combined. The mintage exceeded 2 billion coins, making the 1944 issue one of the most extensively produced Lincoln wheat cents of the entire series. Despite these impressive numbers, modern collectors recognize that original mintage alone tells only part of the story. The overwhelming majority of these coins entered heavy circulation almost immediately, passing through military bases, defense factories, grocery stores, rail stations, and countless American households. Years of daily commerce gradually wore away the highest design elements, while exposure to moisture, fingerprints, and environmental contaminants altered the original surfaces. As a result, sharply preserved examples displaying vibrant mint luster have become considerably scarcer than the enormous production totals might suggest. This difference between quantity produced and quality surviving forms the foundation of today's collector demand. The physical characteristics of the 1944 Lincoln wheat cent remained faithful to Victor David Brenner's enduring design, first introduced in 1909. The obverse features a dignified portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right, accompanied by the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, with Denver and San Francisco coins displaying their mint marks beneath the year. The reverse presents two elegant wheat ears surrounding the denomination 1 cent, while United States of America occupies the center and EPLURIBUS UNUM appears above, creating one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history. Measuring approximately 19.05 millimeters in diameter and weighing about 3.11 grams, the coin has a plain edge and was struck from an alloy consisting primarily of copper with small percentages of zinc and tin. Collectors appreciate not only its historical significance, but also the warm bronze appearance that develops distinctive color characteristics over time. Freshly preserved examples often display brilliant red surfaces, while decades of natural oxidation gradually transform many coins into red-brown and eventually chocolate-brown tones. These natural color transitions have become one of the most important factors influencing collector preference and market value. Professional grading organizations carefully evaluate every surviving specimen according to internationally recognized standards, and even slight differences in preservation can produce substantial differences in collector demand. Coins exhibiting heavy circulation may still possess historical charm, but the market places its strongest emphasis on examples that retain crisp detail, original surfaces, and attractive eye appeal. Specialists examine Lincoln's hair, cheek, beard, coat lines, and the intricate grain within the wheat ears to determine whether wear has softened the original design. They also assess contact marks, carbon spotting, stains, and evidence of improper cleaning. Copper color receives separate classification because original red examples are dramatically scarcer than brown examples after many decades of natural aging. An authenticated mint state red coin with exceptional luster, minimal abrasions, and an above-average strike may bring approximately $1,350 to $2,150 in today's collector market, depending on certification, grade, originality, and prevailing demand. Similar coins displaying red-brown or brown surfaces generally command lower premiums, illustrating how preservation and originality can outweigh simple rarity in determining value. Beyond condition alone, specialists remain fascinated by mint-made varieties and legitimate production errors associated with the 1944 issue. One of the most famous rarities involves the accidental striking of a very small number of 1944 cents on leftover steel planchets from 1943. These extraordinary transitional errors are among the most celebrated Lincoln cents ever produced because they represent an unintended overlap between two dramatically different wartime compositions. Their authenticity must always be confirmed through professional examination, since altered dates, plated coins, and counterfeit examples have appeared over the years. Other collectible mint-made errors include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, die cracks, and certain double die characteristics that have been documented by respected specialists. Genuine examples are uncommon and should never be confused with post-mint damage caused by circulation or private alteration. Certified premium quality examples of significant varieties or dramatic mint errors have sold for around $3,450 in some cases. While authenticated transitional steel cents from 1944 have realized prices vastly beyond ordinary collector levels at major auctions because of their extreme rarity and historical importance. Those remarkable results apply only to verified specimens possessing proper authentication and should never be interpreted as representative of every 1944 wheat cent. Because the Lincoln Wheat series remains one of America's most widely collected coin series, authentication has become increasingly important for both beginning hobbyists and advanced numismatists. Experienced examiners verify a coin's weight, diameter, metallic composition, magnetic response, edge characteristics, and microscopic design details before reaching conclusions about authenticity. The ordinary bronze 1944 cent should not respond to a magnet, making magnetic attraction an immediate warning sign that additional investigation may be necessary, particularly when evaluating claims involving the famous steel transitional error. However, even this simple test cannot establish authenticity by itself, because counterfeiters have employed numerous deceptive techniques over the years. Reputable grading services utilize advanced imaging, metallurgical analysis, when appropriate, and extensive reference collections before encapsulating valuable specimens. Collectors are also advised never to polish or clean copper coins, since even gentle abrasion can permanently damage the original mint surface and significantly reduce market desirability. Instead, careful storage in inert holders, archival quality flips, capsules, or professionally sealed certification holders helps preserve both appearance and long-term collector confidence, while minimizing exposure to humidity, fingerprints, and airborne contaminants. Today, the 1944 Lincoln Wheat cent occupies a unique place within American numismatics because it combines historical significance, wartime heritage, broad availability for new collectors, and genuine opportunities for discovering exceptional certified examples. Registry set competitors continue searching for the finest known survivors displaying extraordinary strike quality, blazing original luster, and rich red color, while historians appreciate the coin as a symbol of America's wartime industrial adaptation. Auction records consistently demonstrate that superior preservation, respected third-party certification, attractive eye appeal, and documented originality remain the primary drivers of premium values. Exceptional mint, state red examples certified at the highest levels have realized prices approaching $3,900 at auction, while the extraordinarily rare authenticated 1944 steel cents have sold for dramatically higher sums because they represent one of the most famous transitional errors in United States coinage. Those record-setting sales belong only to carefully authenticated rarities, not to ordinary circulation strikes. The enduring appeal of the 1944 Lincoln Wheat cent ultimately lies in its remarkable ability to unite history, craftsmanship, wartime ingenuity, and disciplined collecting standards within a single bronze coin that continues to reward careful study more than 8 decades after it first entered American commerce. Next up. At first glance, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat cent without a mint mark seems almost too ordinary to deserve special attention. It is a coin that countless Americans once carried in their pockets, dropped into cash registers, or tucked away in old jars without a second thought. Yet experienced collectors approach this seemingly common cent with remarkable patience, often studying it under magnification before making any conclusions. They know that its true story cannot be understood by looking at the date alone. Tiny details hidden within the strike, the surfaces, the color, and even the absence of a mint mark can dramatically influence its desirability. As we examine this coin together, you'll discover why certified examples continue to attract serious numismatists, what characteristics specialists search for before assigning value, and how a handful of exceptional survivors have earned impressive auction results through a combination of rarity, preservation, and expert authentication rather than simple age. The year 1945 represented one of the most significant turning points in modern history. World War II was drawing to a close, American factories were still operating at extraordinary levels, and millions of servicemen were preparing to return home. The economy remained heavily influenced by wartime production, but optimism about the future was beginning to replace years of uncertainty. The Lincoln Wheat cent continued to serve as the nation's smallest circulating denomination, facilitating everyday commerce during a period when nearly every purchase, no matter how small, mattered to American families. Following the return to copper-based alloy in 1944, after the brief experiment with steel cents in 1943, the mint continued striking bronze cents using an alloy composed primarily of 95% copper with small amounts of zinc and tin. The coin measured approximately 19.05 millimeters in diameter, weighed about 3.11 grams, and featured a plain edge. Although these specifications seem routine today, they reflected a carefully controlled manufacturing process designed to produce billions of durable coins capable of withstanding years of circulation. The absence of a mint mark tells an important part of the story. Lincoln cents struck at the Philadelphia Mint traditionally carried no mint mark during this era, while coins from Denver displayed a D and those from San Francisco an S beneath the date. Therefore, a genuine 1945 Lincoln wheat cent with no mint mark was produced in Philadelphia, the oldest and busiest United States mint facility. Philadelphia struck more than 1 billion Lincoln cents in 1945, making it the largest producer of the denomination that year. At first glance, that enormous mintage suggests the coin should be common forever. However, experienced collectors know that survival rates matter far more than production totals. The overwhelming majority of these cents circulated extensively through grocery stores, gas stations, post offices, and countless daily transactions. Decades of wear gradually softened Lincoln's portrait, flattened the wheat ears on the reverse, and removed much of the original mint luster. Finding a worn example is relatively easy, but locating one that escaped circulation with exceptional preservation is far more challenging than the original mintage figures might suggest. Holding the coin under proper lighting reveals why Victor David Brenner's design remains one of the most admired in American numismatics. The obverse presents Abraham Lincoln facing right, accompanied by the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date. The reverse displays two graceful wheat stalks framing 1 cent and United States of America, with EPLUBUSUNUM above. The symbolism is subtle yet powerful. Lincoln represented national unity and perseverance, while the wheat ears reflected agricultural strength and prosperity during a period when food production played a critical role in supporting both civilians and military forces. As specialists inspect a 1945 cent, they begin by studying the sharpness of Lincoln's hair, cheekbone, beard, bow tie, and coat, then shift attention to the wheat kernels and lettering on the reverse. Weakly struck examples often lack definition in these areas, while coins struck from fresh dies typically exhibit bold details and vibrant mint frost. These differences may seem minor to casual observers, but they become increasingly important when evaluating collector quality. Professional grading expands this investigation even further. A coin may appear attractive to the naked eye, yet trained graders evaluate numerous characteristics before assigning a grade. Surface preservation, contact marks, abrasions, original luster, strike quality, and overall eye appeal all influence the final assessment. Copper coins also receive color designations that significantly affect collector demand. A fully red specimen retains nearly all of its original mint color and is considerably scarcer than red-brown or brown examples that naturally toned over decades. Because original copper surfaces are easily altered by improper storage or cleaning, collectors place tremendous importance on originality. Certified mint state red examples with outstanding eye appeal and strong strikes have realized approximately $1,250 to $1,900 in today's market, depending on the grading service, certification level, and prevailing collector demand. Similar coins with diminished luster, noticeable spotting, or lower mint state grades generally trade for substantially less, illustrating how preservation often outweighs simple availability. As the examination continues, attention shifts toward the fascinating world of mint-made varieties and production errors. Unlike damage that occurs after a coin enters circulation, genuine mint errors originate during the manufacturing process and are carefully documented by specialists. Collectors inspect 1945 Philadelphia cents for features such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, lamination errors, broad strikes, die cracks, and certain recognized double die varieties. Although dramatic errors are uncommon, they remain highly sought after because each represents a unique moment inside the mint when production deviated from normal standards. Authentication is essential because post-mint alterations, mechanical doubling, and counterfeit modifications frequently imitate genuine varieties. When a significant mint error appears on a well-preserved coin and receives professional certification, collector demand can increase dramatically. Some authenticated premium quality error examples have brought around $3,250 at public auction, not because every 1945 Philadelphia cent is rare, but because the combination of an important mint error, excellent preservation, and trusted certification creates a genuinely scarce collectible. Counterfeit awareness has become increasingly important as rare coin values have grown over time. Fortunately, experienced numismatists rely on a systematic approach rather than assumptions. They verify the coin's weight, diameter, metallic composition, edge, and magnetic behavior before carefully examining the date, lettering, and microscopic design details. Since a normal 1945 Lincoln wheat cent was struck from a copper alloy, it should not be attracted to a magnet. Collectors also study the texture of the surfaces, looking for natural agging patterns instead of artificial coloring or evidence of polishing. Cleaning remains one of the most common mistakes made by well-intentioned owners, often leaving fine hairline scratches or an unnatural brightness that permanently reduces collector appeal. Rather than attempting to improve appearance, experts recommend storing valuable cents in inert archival holders, hard plastic capsules, or professionally certified slabs that protect against fingerprints, humidity, and environmental contaminants. Careful preservation helps maintain originality, which is one of the qualities advanced collectors value most highly. The lasting appeal of the 1945 Lincoln wheat cent without a mint mark ultimately comes from its remarkable balance of accessibility and challenge. Millions were struck, yet relatively few survive with blazing original luster, flawless surfaces, razor-sharp strikes, and exceptional eye appeal. Registry set collectors compete intensely for these elite certified examples because every incremental improvement in quality becomes increasingly difficult to obtain. Auction history consistently demonstrates that the strongest prices are reserved for coins combining outstanding preservation, respected third-party certification, and superior originality. Exceptional mint state red specimens have realized prices approaching $3,800 at major auctions, while important certified varieties or significant mint errors can exceed ordinary collector expectations under the right circumstances. Those results apply only to authenticated high-grade examples and should never be interpreted as the value of every 1945 Philadelphia wheat cent. The real lesson this coin offers is that careful observation reveals far more than its age alone. Every experienced collector begins with the same quiet investigation, studying the date, confirming the missing mint mark, evaluating the strike, examining the surfaces, judging the color and luster, and searching patiently for the subtle details that separate a common survivor from a truly exceptional piece of American numismatic history. Last coin. Countless Americans have handled a 1949 Lincoln wheat cent without giving it a second thought, yet seasoned collectors know that this modest bronze coin can tell a far richer story than its appearance suggests. At first glance, it seems nearly identical to millions of other wheat cents produced during the middle of the 20th century, but careful examination often reveals subtle characteristics that separate an ordinary survivor from a genuinely desirable collectible. The date alone never tells the entire story. Experienced numismatists study the mint of origin, the sharpness of the strike, the originality of the surfaces, the color, the remaining mint luster, and the possibility of legitimate mint-made varieties before reaching any conclusions. As this investigation unfolds, we'll explore why certain authenticated examples have earned exceptional respect among collectors, how experts determine their desirability, and what verified market results reveal about the finest surviving pieces without assuming that every coin carrying the 1949 date shares the same significance. The 1949 Lincoln Wheat Cent was produced during a remarkable period of American history. The Second World War had ended only a few years earlier, and the United States was entering an era defined by industrial growth, expanding suburbs, technological innovation, and increasing consumer confidence. At the same time, the Cold War was beginning to shape international politics, while the American economy continued transitioning from wartime production to peacetime prosperity. Everyday commerce required an enormous supply of small denomination coins, and the Lincoln cent remained the workhorse of daily transactions. Whether purchasing newspapers, paying bus fares, or making small grocery purchases, Americans relied on cents more than ever before. The United States Mint, therefore, continued producing Lincoln Wheat Cents in tremendous quantities to satisfy commercial demand, preserving a design that had already become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. Every 1949 cent quietly became part of this changing national landscape, passing through millions of hands while reflecting the confidence of a country rebuilding and expanding after years of global conflict. Production took place at 3 different mint facilities, each contributing its own chapter to the story. Philadelphia struck coins without a mint mark, Denver placed a small D beneath the date, and San Francisco identified its production with an S. Combined output exceeded 1 billion coins, with Philadelphia accounting for the largest share, followed by Denver and San Francisco. Those production totals might suggest that the 1949 issue is permanently common, but experienced collectors quickly point out that mintage and rarity are not identical concepts. Most of these coins entered circulation immediately and remained in everyday use for decades. Repeated handling gradually softened Lincoln's portrait, flattened the fine details of the wheat ears, and removed much of the original mint frost that distinguished freshly struck examples. Countless pieces were lost, damaged, cleaned, or exposed to harsh environmental conditions. Consequently, while circulated examples remain readily available, truly outstanding mint state survivors displaying exceptional originality are dramatically scarcer than the original production numbers would imply, creating an important foundation for today's collector demand. Examining the coin itself reveals why Victor David Brenner's design has endured for generations. The obverse features Abraham Lincoln facing right beneath the national motto, "In God We Trust," accompanied by liberty and the date. Brenner's portrait was groundbreaking when introduced in 1909 because it marked the first regular circulating United States coin to depict a real historical figure rather than an allegorical representation of liberty. The reverse displays 2 graceful wheat stalks framing 1 cent and United States of America, while EPLUBUSUNUM appears above, symbolizing unity among the states. The coin measures approximately 19.05 millimeters in diameter, weighs about 3.11 grams, and has a plain edge. Its alloy consists primarily of 95% copper, with the remaining balance made up of zinc and tin, giving the coin its familiar bronze appearance. Under proper lighting, collectors evaluate the sharpness of Lincoln's hair, beard, ear, and jacket, then shift attention to the grain lines within the wheat ears and the crispness of every letter. These subtle characteristics often reveal whether the coin was struck from fresh dies or worn ones, and whether it escaped circulation before meaningful wear developed. As the investigation becomes more detailed, professional grading emerges as one of the most influential factors affecting collector desirability. Third-party grading services evaluate wear, contact marks, strike quality, surface preservation, eye appeal, and originality before assigning a numerical grade. Copper coins receive an additional distinction through color classification, being designated brown, red-brown, or red depending upon how much original mint color remains. This classification has a substantial effect on collector demand because fully red coins become increasingly difficult to locate as decades pass. Experienced buyers understand that an untouched original surface is almost always preferable to one that has been cleaned or artificially brightened. A certified mint state red example of the 1949 Lincoln Wheat Cent, possessing excellent luster, strong eye appeal, and minimal abrasions may command approximately $1,450 to $2,300 in today's collector market, although values fluctuate according to certification, exact grade, market conditions, and buyer competition. Similar coins with weaker strikes, diminished luster, or brown surfaces generally trade for considerably lower amounts despite sharing the same date. Beyond condition, collectors devote enormous attention to legitimate mint-made varieties and production errors that distinguish individual coins from the broader population. The 1949 issue is known to include collectible double-die varieties and a number of genuine mint errors documented by respected specialists, including off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, and die cracks. These anomalies originated during the manufacturing process and should never be confused with damage caused after the coin entered circulation. Authentication, therefore, becomes essential because mechanical doubling, altered dates, and post-mint damage can resemble genuine varieties to inexperienced observers. Specialists carefully compare suspect coins with established references before reaching conclusions. When an authenticated production error appears on a sharply preserved example with attractive original surfaces, collector demand rises significantly. Certified error examples of notable quality have realized prices around $3,600 in public sales, not because every 1949 wheat cent is rare, but because authentic mint errors paired with superior preservation represent a much smaller and more competitive segment of the collecting market. As values increase, so does the importance of authentication and careful preservation. Counterfeiters have long targeted popular Lincoln cents by altering dates, adding artificial mint marks, or modifying damaged coins in hopes of imitating scarcer pieces. Experienced numismatists therefore begin with basic measurements, confirming weight, diameter, edge characteristics, and metallic composition before studying microscopic design features. They examine lettering, numerals, mint marks where present, surface texture, and natural luster to identify inconsistencies that may indicate alteration. Equally important is recognizing the damage caused by improper cleaning. Even gentle polishing removes delicate mint surfaces and leaves fine hairline scratches that dramatically reduce collector appeal. Rather than attempting restoration, experts recommend preserving original surfaces exactly as they have survived. Proper storage inside archival quality holders, inert capsules, or professionally certified slabs protects the coin from humidity, fingerprints, airborne contaminants, and accidental abrasion. These precautions help preserve both physical condition and market confidence, two qualities that become increasingly valuable as collector standards continue to evolve. More than 75 years after its release, the 1949 Lincoln wheat cent continues to occupy an important place within American numismatics because it bridges everyday history with advanced collecting. Registry set competitors actively pursue the finest certified examples. Historians appreciate its connection to America's post-war transformation, and beginning collectors often choose it as an accessible entry into the wheat cent series. Auction history consistently demonstrates that the strongest prices belong only to authenticated coins, combining outstanding preservation, original red color, exceptional strike quality, and respected third-party certification. Extraordinary results may also involve documented varieties or significant mint errors whose rarity has been thoroughly verified. Those premiums should never be interpreted as applying to every 1949 Lincoln wheat cent encountered in circulation or inherited in family collections. Instead, they illustrate how originality, scarcity, eye appeal, and careful authentication shape long-term collector demand far more than the date alone. Sometimes the smallest coin preserves the biggest chapter of American history, waiting for someone patient enough to recognize it.